Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy, and I'm going to try to film these videos in the morning because the lighting seems to be a little bit better, and obviously I'd rather film in here than in my truck anyways. So, in today's video, we're going to be doing my buyer's guide on a Chevy Silverado. Now, this is going to cover the year range from a 2019 to a 2020. I'm just covering the new body style, and just like in all the other videos, I'm going to first touch base on the engine options, and then we're going to go into the different trim packages. Then we're going to go into common issues with the truck, and then finally pricing, and then we'll cap things off. So let's get into the video. Let's talk about the engines, and if you guys are wondering why I'm looking down occasionally, it's because I have my notes here. I can't memorize every single engine that the Chevy 1500 has and the power outputs because it has a lot. But let's get into it. The first one is a 4.3 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 285 horsepower and then 305 foot-pounds of torque. And in all fairness, this engine's pretty reliable. I haven't seen many trucks with it. Most Chevy dealers just don't order out this engine just because of the power. And in terms of how it compares, I guess, to the other manufacturers, it's pretty much the same. Ford, though, definitely kills it with their base engine. Anyways, the next one is a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder, 310 horsepower, and then 348 foot-pounds of torque. And that one is also paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, this one's a pretty cool engine. Having a 4-cylinder in a truck is definitely very controversial. I've never driven the engine, but it has more power and torque than the V6, so I would assume that it's going to be a little bit quicker. It's just most people don't want a V6 in a truck, let alone a 4-cylinder, so I can't imagine Chevy has sold many trucks with that engine. The next one is a 5.3 liter V8, 355 horsepower, 383 foot-pounds of torque, and that one is paired to an 8-speed automatic or a 6-speed automatic, just depending on the trim package that you get. If you get a more basic truck, it'll be with the 6-speed. If you get a more loaded up truck, it'll be with the 8-speed automatic. Pretty self-explanatory there. And you actually can't even get it into a 10-speed automatic if you get it at the higher trim, like the very, very highest trim packages with the Chevy 1500. Now, this one's kind of like the bread and butter for Chevy. This is what most 1500s will have. Basically in them is this 5.3 V8, super reliable engine. The only thing that's disappointing about it is just the power. It would be a lot better if it had a little bit better power, and I think they should just make that 10-speed standard across the board. Having 3 different transmissions for one engine, I mean, come on. Anyways, the next one is the 6.2 V8, 420 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds of torque. That one's a 10-speed automatic, and the coolest part is for 2020, you can get this in the Trail Boss now. And I've noticed that not a lot of Chevy dealers have ordered out Trail Bosses with this, so you might have to do a custom order. But that is my favorite engine because it's a little bit worse in terms of fuel economy compared to the 5.3, but it has so much more power, so much more torque, and that 10-speed is just perfect with it. So if you get a Chevy 1500, definitely recommend the 6.2. That's my top pick, at least. And then finally, we have a 3-liter diesel engine. It's an inline 6. I totally made a mistake in one of my reviews and called it a V6 because I was talking too fast. Go figure. 277 horsepower though and 460 foot-pounds of torque with a 10-speed automatic. It's a pretty good engine for what it is. However, since Ram has released their new EcoDiesel, the EcoDiesel kind of beats out that engine in terms of power and torque figures. Well, at least in terms of the torque figures, the power figures are roughly about the same. Fuel economy is pretty similar, and so it's kind of a toss-up, but it's still a pretty cool little diesel engine. Now let's get into the different trim packages for the Chevy 1500 with the new body style. And what I need to start doing that I didn't do in my other truck videos is mention the different cab configurations you can get with the trucks. So I'll do that in this video. You can get a regular cab, which is just going to be a 2-door with the truck. You can get a double cab, which is a 4-door, but the back seats are really small. It's like that really cramped cab. And then finally, you can get a crew cab, which is the biggest size. That's what most trucks are going to come with, and that's what I would recommend if you're just getting this truck for day-to-day use, because that's going to be the most practical is the crew cab, and you can get the cool little like seat things with the openings on it. But anyways, there's a lot of trim packages with Chevy. The first one is the work truck package. You also see it known as the WT, just stands for work truck. And I mean, the package describes itself. It's their base package. Not a lot comes with it. You can get vinyl seats or cloth seats with it. Just super basic interior. If you're looking for a work truck, then you get the Chevy 1500 work truck. The next one is the custom package. Now this is still really basic, but this is kind of like the package that you get if you want a basic truck, but you don't want to be driving around in a work truck because you want something that actually looks like it's just like a personal vehicle, if that makes sense. So if you want a very basic truck, but you want something that just doesn't look like your basic work truck, then the custom package is the one to go for because it's not going to come with a whole lot, but it looks a little bit nicer on the exterior. Now, the next one is going to be the custom Trail Boss. Now, this is the first package on the Trail Boss, and this is their base model interior for the Trail Boss. So it has the cool exterior stuff on the Trail Boss, except for the tire and rim setup on it. It's usually pretty lame compared to the LT, but we'll get into that in a minute. But this is their entry-level off-road package. So if you want a Trail Boss and you don't want a ton of bells and whistles with it, then get the custom Trail Boss and you get your entry-level off-road truck, and that'd be a great route to go if you wanted to do like a cool off-road build with a Chevy. And the next one is going to be the LT package. Now this is a very popular package. It's kind of like their middle of the line. So think Ford's XLT, Ram's Bighorn, and it's going to come with a little bit nicer amenities, a little bit nicer seats, a little bit nicer on the exterior styling as well. And this is probably the truck that Chevy's going to sell the most of, this in between another package actually. But again, it's kind of like they're just very middle of the line package, up from a work truck or just a very basic truck. You can get like a nicer touchscreen with it, all that kind of stuff. The next one is the RST. This package I really like. It kind of builds on top of the LT. It has a little bit sportier styling on the exterior. Definitely has a nice interior. You can load it up pretty well on the interior. This is the one that I'd recommend to get if you want to get a truck that's not completely basic, but you don't want a fully loaded truck. You want something right in the middle. I think the RST is the package to go for. It has good styling, and you can get plenty of features on the interior. And then we've got the LT Trail Boss. That is the fully loaded version of the Trail Boss. Has the nicer interior. You get like the leather seats in it. Usually the tire and rim setup is better on the LT Trail Bosses from what I've seen. They just use a little bit more aggressive tires and the rims just look a little bit nicer. But if you want the fully loaded off-road truck for Chevy, definitely go for the LT Trail Boss. But it is going to be a bit more expensive than the custom Trail Boss. The next one is the LTZ. Now this is your pretty much fully loaded truck, and it is also your entry-level luxury truck. You can get leather in the other Chevy packages like the RST, but the LTZ comes standard with the leather. And it comes with heated and cooled seats, and you get like the nicer touchscreen with it. You can get like really cool camera system with it, and you get the cool running boards, which will also be on the next package we'll talk about. But again, this is the package that lets you add a bunch of optional equipment. So if you want a full-blown luxury truck, the LTZ is the one to go for. Now the next package above that is the High Country. Now this is the fully loaded one, which comes with the really cool power side steps that you can like move backwards and forwards. I just think it's a cool feature. It's on the Chevys and the GMCs. But again, it has the nicer interior. It's got the more premium seats, so it's nicer leather. And if you're wanting just a fully loaded, decked out truck, the High Country is the one to go for. And it was funny because it used to be, it's always been like the fully loaded package, but it used to be a little bit more Western themed, whereas now they've kind of gone away from that to an extent with the High Country. So they've kind of made it more of just a regular truck, but then a regular truck that's just the full-blown luxury model. Well, let's get into common issues with the Chevy 1500 now, and most of them are pretty interesting. So a lot of electrical issues have happened in the past and are happening with the newer models, so just be aware with that. They have had some issues with just kind of the electrical systems in general. There have been issues with the braking systems, just everything associated with them pretty much. Now, it's not as common, but it can happen, so just be aware of that. Another thing that's come up quite a bit is the steering, and so that's just kind of another thing. Now, the next thing isn't really an issue, but it's something that is just common with the older Chevys, not the newer ones. And because they used to do like the square body and they'd have the squared out wheel wells, look out for trucks that have been lifted and all that. Make sure the lift is done correctly, because a lot of times they have to do a lot of cutting, or there could be rubbing and all that stuff that could just really mess up with the suspension, just because they have square wheel wells. So just be aware of that if you are planning on purchasing a used one in the older body style. The new one, they've rounded out the wheel wells, so it's pretty much fixed it. And then other than that, they have also had some issues with the transmissions. The 10-speed automatic seems to be pretty solid, but the other transmissions have had quite a few issues, and that's just more reason why they need to just get rid of them. 10-speed across the board. Chevy, if you're watching this video, just put the 10-speed in everything, okay? It's a good transmission. But yeah, that's pretty much most of them. So I know it sounds like the whole truck's a piece of junk. They're relatively reliable. The engines are good. It's just that the new body style, since it has come out, they do have quite a few little quirks that they need to work out. So just be aware of that. If you get the new body style, if you get the old one, just be aware that there has been some issues with some electrical systems, and then the braking system as well, which is really scary. But yeah, nothing to worry about. Let's get into pricing now for the Chevy 1500. So if you start at the very bottom of the totem pole with like a work truck, you're going to be in that high 20s, I should say, to low 30s range, depending on how many options you add with the truck. And then once you go up to the custom package, that's going to put you into the higher 30s. And then with the custom Trail Boss, that's going to be higher 30s, low 40s. LT package, similar-ish range. Sometimes they can get up into the higher 40s. The RST is going to be kind of like typically mid-40s to mid-50s. And then the LTZ is going to be mid-50s, typically to mid-60s. Trail Boss is going to be in that low to mid-50s up to 60s, depending on what you add to it, especially if you have that 6.2 V8. And then your high country is typically going to be over $60,000. So you've got about a $30,000 to $40,000 price range from the highest package, or sorry, from the lowest package to the highest package. I do not know what I'm saying today, apparently. That is pretty much going to sum things up for my buyer's guide on the Chevy 1500. And I know I didn't talk about the styling in this video. I haven't really talked about it in many of the videos because that's something that is somewhat objective, but then it's also subjective at the same time. However, I'm going to give my opinion. I think that the exterior on the Trail Boss looks really cool. That's a really good looking truck. The interior on all of them is, yeah, leaves much to be desired. But for the most part, I think they're okay looking. Do I think it's the best looking truck? No. But it's also, well, kind of the ugliest truck, but kind of not. So yeah, there's that on the styling. Anyways, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then I will see all of you in that next video.